Well, lots of things to talk about in today's Media Watch. James Creedon is here for that. Good to see you, James.
Likewise, Laura.
As always. And we're going to talk a bit about some of the reactions from European leaders today, because Donald Trump has once again got a few people's backs up. This time not on Twitter, but in real interviews with real journalists, the Times of London and the Bild German newspaper. And François Hollande, the French president, is the latest to respond. He says, we don't need lessons on what to do from the United States.
That's right. So just a very quick nod to what European leaders have been saying following that interview to Michael Gove. We can see here now that just in the past half hour, François Hollande has replied. This was while he was giving the Legion of Honour to the US ambassador to France. And he said during that ceremony, various quotes here, the EU has no need for outside advice. This is because Donald Trump praised the Brexit vote.
He says the EU is falling apart.
That's right. And he was essentially critical of European Union leadership. Angela Merkel also replied to that. You can see a headline here in Le Monde saying Europeans have their destiny in hand. In other words, stay out of it.
We can look after ourselves.
That was essentially it. There
Yes.
you go. So that's just a quick nod to replies to that. But what I want to focus on more is something he mentioned during that interview to the Times and Bild. He's going to continue to use his Twitter account. Now, this has been there's been a lot of speculation about whether or not he will continue to use @RealDonaldTrump as opposed to shifting his tweets over to @POTUS.
POTUS, yes.
And it appears, no, he will continue to use @RealDonaldTrump. Now, one of the more recent tweets is, I mean, it's always controversial. He hit back at Saturday Night Live for their satirical depiction of him and his first press conference.
An awful lot like him.
And the New York Post headline says, like clockwork, Trump rips Saturday Night Live on Twitter. So there is this perception of Donald Trump's use of Twitter that it's very knee-jerk, it's very childish.
He can't rise above it.
He can't rise
his mother
above it.
never told him that. Rise above it.
He always has to hit back. I think it's really well expressed in this Borovitz report, which is satirical, in the New Yorker. Intel chiefs say Trump's Twitter account was hacked by a 4-year-old. In other words, there is this perception that that really, in terms of vocabulary, in terms of the ideas expressed, that it's the work of a preschooler, according to that satirical reading of things. But a lot of people think that. They're like, this...
Well, what does
he
what do
always
people,
responds.
Yeah.
He always takes the bait.
He always does. What do people around him think about it? People like Kellyanne Conway, his publicist, for example. What do they make of it? Because these are the people who are paid to put a message out to the press. That's how traditionally it works.
That's right. And we remember that as it came up close to Election Day, apparently the keys to his Twitter account, figuratively speaking, were taken away from him for a while because they were afraid that he could overstep the mark. But as he also referred in the Times report to his use of Twitter, the power of Twitter. He says it's very precise. Actually, it's very, very precise. And when you tweet, it comes out as breaking news. So you don't have to go through via press releases or via press conferences. So what he's saying is that
we saw what happened with the press conference.
Well, that's it. So maybe he should continue tweeting. That he thinks about his tweets. They're premeditated and they're not as knee-jerk as some would
Because some of them
think.
are at 3 a.m.
Well, as the Borovitz report joked about as well, saying that, what did it say?
What's he doing up at that time?
The hacker would often wake up in the middle of the night in an addled and cranky state and start tweeting. This is a behaviour like a 3 or 4-year-old. Anyway, you were mentioning Kellyanne Conway. Well, one of the other people who will be communicating for him in the White House is Sean Spicer.
Yes.
He's the pick for press secretary.
He's the one that told off Jim Acosta at CNN last week.
That's it. And he has been saying as well that the unorthodox tweeting will continue. It's going to be something that we've never seen before. I think we're already aware of that. And he has this direct pipeline to the American people. So
that makes him as obsolete as NATO, to quote Donald Trump, doesn't it? I mean, that basically takes the point of his job away.
It sounds like Trump will be dictating his tweets and this guy will be,
he will be
punching them in.
Oh,
I don't know.
right.
I'm just speculating, but he dictates his tweets apparently. Now, how will Twitter perhaps be of use in terms of internal squabbling? This is interesting. It's a report in the Washington Post today. Trump says he's ready to use the power of the presidency and Twitter to get his bills passed. Now, he's talking here in particular about reforms to medical care and stuff like that, where the Republican Party establishment and Donald Trump may not be in agreement. So what's he going to do? He's going to tweet if the Congress or if the Republican Party in Congress are not necessarily rowing in behind him, and he will have that direct pipeline to the American people. Essentially, it's what got him elected, being unorthodox,
certainly helped, didn't
being
it?
a maverick against the Republican Party, and now that may well continue right into his time in the White House, using Twitter in a very unorthodox manner.
Okay, all right. Do we have time just to talk very quickly about Benoît Hamon? This is one of the men trying to lead the Socialist Party in May's election. He's also a big fan of Twitter, isn't he?
Well, his old tweets have been dug up now because he's one of 7 candidates in the Socialist Party primary. And so this is tweets going back, to 2008, 2009. And he was tweeting about having a glass of beer on the terrace of his local cafe, listening to an Egyptian musician and enjoying a glass of green tea, saying that he loves the music of...
That won't go down well in France, will it?
He loves the music of Jeff Buckley. It was anything but political tweets, and some people are saying maybe he should have just deleted his Twitter account because it all looks very unprofessional.
Maybe it's all part of a strategy.
Well, others saying it's great. He's very normal.
He drinks green tea. All right.
That's it.
James, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks,
James
Laura.
Creedon there.